I didn't know we was doing the top 10 authors. I just watched the Red Room, and I had such a hard time getting past five. Then I thought, I got to measure it by what is on my shelf, what I've read multiple times, and what I still read, whether for inspiration and all that. Now, when I was a child, when I was younger, teenager up until about 30, I read voraciously, constantly, always. I still have stacks of books next to me, right? So right now I got the Orthodox Bible, DMG, AD&D, Dragon Slayer, and Robert E. Howard, Moon of Skulls. I'm going through all the weird works stuff he did, right? That's just what's within arm's reach, not counting cookbooks. So I'm sticking to fiction. I do have other favorite authors. If you count who I reread the most, it's probably a damn cookbook, to be honest, which is ridiculous. But we'll do it. I don't have any honorable mentions. I've read a lot of authors, and I've read them once. Dostoevsky, Vonnegut, stuff like that. I have a hard time getting into Vonnegut. I read them. Bradbury, I think I've read all the big ones by Bradbury, but I like the Bradbury TV series. But I didn't read a lot of his fiction besides, what was required for school. And I might have reread Fahrenheit 451 a couple times. So we'll make Bradbury an honorable mention, to be honest. But the bottom of the list, number 10, Edward Bulwer Lytton, The Coming Race, The Real. So I've read that book several times. And a bit of his prose and some stuff about Anglo-Saxon stuff that he's done. It's at the bottom of the list, but it's a foundational one. Mainly because of phrases and stuff the man created. Again, the pursuit of the almighty dollar, that's him. The pen is mightier than the sword, that's him. So I've read off and on some oddball stuff from him, but I've only really read Vril, The Coming Race, a few times. I use it for inspiration for my games and stuff. Number 9. And not for the same reasons other people. Edgar Rice Burroughs, but mainly for the Pellucidar. How do I pronounce it? I've never heard it said out loud. I've only read the books. The Pellucidar series. It's a Lost World series. I've read that a couple times. I liked it. And then his other stuff, the standard Burroughs stuff. And I like him, but he's towards the bottom of the list. I haven't read it in years. I'll probably never reread it again, to be honest. And here's one that I read a lot as a kid. Jules Verne. I'm surprised I didn't see Jules Verne on other people's lists. I like Verne. And I've read several of those books over and over. Even the oddball ones like Master of the World, which I don't know if I've talked to anyone else who's actually read that book. Ever. But anyway, we'll skip right past that. H.G. Wells. It's another big favorite of mine. I read War of the Worlds, I don't know how many times as a kid. And a few others. I've read a lot of it. I have a collected works book that I've read through a couple times. It's all kinds of marked up and dog-eared by now, but it's a big old hardback. I've read through that a few times. When they do one where they have the original printing, the wide margins. I like wide margins, and I'll admit sometimes I'll scribble in them. I should never write in a book, but I do. This is one I used to read a lot as a kid. Because it was required reading. And then from there, I reread some of the stories over and over. That's Mark Twain. I'm not going to explain it too much beyond that. I do believe that everything should be in the original printing and not sanitized. The second you sanitize Twain, you ruin everything the man was trying to do, the messages he was trying to convey. You ruin it. You need the vernacular. You need the language as it was written down, because that's how the language was spoken. It's a pet peeve of mine. Now, this one's going to be weird. I don't have any of your big horror authors on here, but I have a tie for what is this, fifth? And they wrote a series of zombie books each. Z.A. Wright, who's died, and J.L. Bourne, who's still alive, I think. And their zombie series are the best. Morningstar Virus, and I forgot the name of it. It's on my shelf. They're on my shelf. I'm drawing a blank. Is what it is. But that those are tied because they write, in my opinion, the best zombie fiction that's ever been written. Period. Number 4, Robert E. Howard. And I've read Conan over and over and over, and the only thing that comes close is probably Solomon Kane. I've not read a lot of Cole, and a lot of Howard's weird fiction I've read off and on. I've listened to on some podcast things where they do the spoken word weird stories articles. Yeah. Number 3, and I guess a lot of people might think this should have been higher, but H.P. Lovecraft. I've read a lot of Lovecraft. I'm not so much into Cthulhu gaming, but the fiction I like and love, and I've read it extensively, plus the poetry, because I do like poetry. It's not the gayest thing about me, but it is pretty fucking gay. We'll just be honest. Yeah, I like Lovecraft. Always have. It's got a whole shelf on my bookshelf. On my bookshelf, it's got dedicated shelves. And the only 2 larger collections of books are the next 2. And these ones I've read more. This won't be a full shelf, but I got everything the man ever written, and I've read everything he's ever written, and that's Jack Kerouac. Yeah, I reread On the Road and The Subterraneans and The Dharma Bums so many times that I got it tattooed on my arm, and I took off for a couple years just wandering around. Not the smartest thing I ever did, but I did have a lot of fun, a lot of experiences. So, would I have done that now in retrospect? Nope. I think God, it would have been an old man at birth if I could redo everything. But my number 1 author that I read to this day, and I've used his works to instill reading into my grandchildren because the verbiage. I think you should have a broad vocabulary, and that's Edgar Allan Poe. I think he is probably the greatest American author. He created the detective series, and he created Gothic horror. Poe, hands down, greatest influential author of American history, in my opinion. Period. Those are just my opinions. And I don't put as much thought into this as a lot of you other people do, man. I just go through and I look at my shelf, what I'm actually reading, what I've been rereading, and that's it. And everything on that list, I will reread. Every one of those authors. Now I'm going to read that Burroughs series again. I'm going to reread Master of the World too, just because I can. Game well, game often. Get your rating on. Touch grass, read a book.